You just can't hunt our babies. You just can't come to our state and hurt our people. We're working with members of the government in Idaho. We're trying to establish that you just can't hunt our babies. You just can't come to our state and hurt our people. It's unacceptable.
Students were found dead in a home near campus Sunday. And in Charlottesville, Virginia, 3 University of Virginia students were shot and killed.
Any indication as to a possible motive?
No, we haven't got down that.
Potential suspects included an ex-boyfriend of one of the victims, but he has since been ruled out. 2 roommates who were inside the home at the time of the killings are cooperating with police, and they're not focusing on them as suspects either, they say. Police do say they believe it's a targeted crime and not random, and they say the community needs to prepare for a lengthy investigation. So, yeah, a lot of questions here. Is that they know it's targeted.
Well, and there's 2 people inside the house when this crime took place.
And stabbing?
Defendants connected to a Washington group of traffickers were arrested in Pennsylvania. Xana, according to her autopsy report, was from Avondale, Arizona, within the Phoenix metropolitan area.
U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Washington announced the sting investigation.
Fox 13's Frankie Thompson joining us to explain how this all unfolded. Frankie.
Yes, this national drug trafficking investigation started in Pittsburgh last spring. Federal agents were following a key member of the operation who made his rounds in states including Arizona and Washington. With his arrest back in January, it led to 7 more people arrested in Seattle this week.
Tied this back to the Sinaloa cartel.
From coast to coast, federal agents are busting and arresting people connected to a major drug trafficking operation. Information from a wiretap revealed hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills were entering the U.S. and Washington state.
This national operation has exposed the links that these cartel fentanyl trafficking organizations will go to in order to get the pills into this country and into our communities.
Federal agents say the drugs came from a Mexico-based cartel. During a 10-month national investigation, 90 people have been arrested, including 7 in Seattle.
We're always focused on as high up in a cartel organization operation as we can go. The types of folks that we have here are the mid-level distributors, redistributors. So we're not talking about people dealing small amounts on the street.
Reportedly in a relationship with a man from Skagit County, Washington. Skagit County is located near the Canadian border and is situated in a coastal area. The region is classified as highly impacted by drug trafficking and related crimes. Arizona was also named as relevant in the High Drug Trafficking Area Impact Report for the state of Idaho. The DEA's Seattle Division, which is relevant to the geographic area where the murders occurred, has announced arrests that are also pertinent to the locations of several victims. The suspects in these crimes, who are under investigation, are believed to have operated within the jurisdiction of this same division. This highlights the significance of these arrests in relation to the ongoing investigation into these serious offenses. Operation Last Mile, led by the FBI and DEA, targeted high-value criminal individuals in the Idaho and Washington areas. It aimed to dismantle drug trafficking networks facilitating the transportation of drugs from these regions to Canada and Alaska. Alaska's inclusion in the same DEA region as Idaho and Washington is due to the interconnected nature of drug trafficking routes and geographical proximity. Furthermore, it is worth mentioning that the Mad Greek, a restaurant notably established in Alaska, adds an interesting element to
after a multi-state investigation. They're accused of distributing large amounts of methamphetamine and fentanyl throughout southwestern Idaho and eastern Oregon.
Investigation into connections between a white supremacist prison gang and Mexican cartel.
A big bust, a blitz of arrests began over a week ago with 24 people taken into custody, and the search is on for 3 more. Partnership between the powerful Sinaloa cartel and a white supremacist prison gang known as the Aryan family. The haul included nearly 2 million doses of fentanyl, enough to kill everyone in Seattle and Tacoma, along with 500,000 more. These are most of the 27 indicted, with alleged links to the Aryan family prison gang and Sinaloa cartel.
In the Aryan family prison gang and other gangs, all under the umbrella of white power and white supremacy.
The alleged leader is 39-year-old Jesse James Bailey of Steilacoom, Washington.
This narrative that's being pumped with the last-mile media and press highlights the alarming role of social media in empowering cartels to infiltrate American society and distribute drugs, according to the FBI and DA reps, simplifying the cartel's tasks. Adding an interesting twist to the narrative, the attorney who wrote Wake Up Parents, a book addressing the issues linked with social media, is also available for speaking engagements at local conventions. Criminal defense attorney and was a former prosecutor and reservist police. This very attorney was enlisted by the family of Kaylee to represent them, adding a new dimension to the story being disseminated.
25 people were arrested, and we're told the majority of them have ties to the Jalisco Nuevo Generation cartel. This is a list of some of those facing charges.
The investigation enters its fourth week. Kaylee's father is expressing disappointment with the local police.
Do you feel confident in the police investigation and the people investigating?
I do not feel confident, and that's why I push the envelope and say a little bit more. I hate to be that guy, but you know, there's a job to do for everybody. Has a job and a role to play in this. Includes, this is my role as to play in this. Includes.
Wouldn't realize that he had that going through his head.
Did you sense anything from him, any emotion in that moment, in that courtroom?
I did. I sensed somebody shocked and scared and not prepared. Like, almost like a sense of like, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. So, his mannerisms, his body language, I'm pretty in tune with certain guys. I've played sports my whole life. I've been in different gyms. I've been in conference rooms with white collar. I can sense confidence, and I did not sense that at all. I sensed somebody who was flaring, scared, and worried.
Facing prison time after a major drug trafficking bust involving campus fraternities.
A little hesitant, didn't think it was quite what DEA needed to get involved in, and I was surely wrong. When we started looking into it, we realized we had a major drug trafficking organization with ties all the way to a Mexican drug cartel and an individual associated with that in California. From California to North Carolina, over 1,000 pounds of marijuana, steroids, ecstasy, Molly, LSD, you name it, they were distributing all of it. It was coming, being shipped through vehicles from California to North Carolina, and then through the Postal Service, and then the proceeds were being sent back the same way through proceeds, but also through Venmo, PayPal. We have over $1.3 million in transactions over Venmo with this organization. Well, they thought they were safe. They thought, you know, they were in the confines of a safe haven of a university, and then even more confined into the fraternity system. They thought, you know, that sense of loyalty. And I know you were a member of a sorority, and I was a member of a fraternity, and actually we shared the same university. This is not the mission of these fraternities and universities. No parents send their kids to learn how to be drug traffickers or actually even worse, come out of college addicted to drugs, and that's what we had going on here.
sorority are they affiliated with?
I don't know.
I don't
know if they're. I don't know if they're associated with the.
So I guarantee you they're associated with the sorority.
Yeah, and if they don't come out, we just contact landlords. Or we come back the next day or the next time you work.
Yeah.
And just note that lack of cooperation does not go a long ways with us.
They're kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things.
Defund the police perspective advocates for a restructuring of financial resources, not the complete abolition of police funding. Instead of providing the police with a surplus for military and paramilitary equipment, these funds could be reinvested into community services such as mental health treatment, education, and housing. This approach emphasizes a less militarized, community-based model of safety and crime prevention rather than unproven needs for extensive equipment. A better topic, though, would be why this is brought up by Kaylee's dad. Why would the idea of the public finding out about his daughter and her friend's murders emphasize the idea and structural benefits of defunding the police? Would it be because the public would be receiving reports of the actual price and burden on human life for which undercover operations often cost?
What we did, we know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target was or given you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them. I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea. The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political. It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free. So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given us information.
All right, so my foreigners, bear with me, because this is confusing to even Americans, and I've tried to figure out the simplest way to explain it. The United States has a lot of alphabet agencies on a federal level. Those agencies will work with state, local, and municipal authorities in task force and sting and undercover operations in order to interrupt criminal enterprise. Even in those operations, one agency will take the lead, and the other agencies are affiliates that are helping out, essentially. But everybody gets paid the same, so who cares, right? But I've often wondered why this case hadn't already been kicked to the feds a long time ago. And it could be because it's a conflict of interest in and of itself if any of the victims or the perpetrator were to be a federal agent themselves, especially where it might pertain to public corruption. In a public corruption operation, one of the most dangerous types of criminal enterprises to interrupt, you might not know who is your friend or foe, which actually reminds me of one of the operations that have been announced this year, Operation Friend or Foe. One of the multiple public corruption operations that have been announced this year with all of the defendants who haven't officially been named as public servants, such as Jesse James Bailey, and his wife. It's often reported that his wife was a corrections officer, but he himself had been a correction officer at some point, and he was forced out of public service because his wife apparently was associated with top members of the Aryan Nation as well as Mexican cartels. It turns out she was doing a lot of dirty deeds, even on the inside. That's right, not just Idaho State Police, but also the Washington and Idaho Department of Corrections have been involved in several of the operations that have been announced this year. But here's the really juicy part. At first, during some of the MPD press releases, they actually included details about the federal agencies that have been lending a hand. Now, although the FBI refused to comment on exactly why they were helping in the Moscow case, they give a generic answer like, yeah, we help out with cases all the time. And sure, they do, especially where it comes to like international crime, etc. No, as far as they tell it, I'm really not seeing where all of these agencies are needed. It's an open and shut case. Take the top investigators in the country to help you out with that. Or, maybe it does over in Hog Heaven. I don't know. But guess what? They happen to include the fact that Hog Heaven is joined by Snake Valley. Isn't that something? Boise is historically called Snake Valley, while the other dirty police force is called Hog Heaven. GTFO. Well, Hog Heaven being Moscow today, and Snake Valley now being Treasure Valley, the area which encompasses Idaho's largest city, Boise. But it should come as no surprise that they were involved. Not at all surprised to see the Treasure Valley Task Force already involved in the Idaho murders. Why? Well, because day 4, day 5, looking into the case, it all became a little bit clearer. That's why I'm not shocked. But let me tell anyone who doesn't believe that there was a covert operation going on why they should be shocked that the Treasure Valley unit was involved in the Idaho murders.
In the early press releases about the case from Moscow, they highlighted the involvement of the FBI and detailed which field offices were partaking. The inclusion of the Salt Lake City FBI is not surprising since this specific office has jurisdiction over Idaho and Montana and Utah. What raises curiosity, however, is the mention of the West Virginia FBI. To clarify, West Virginia falls under the jurisdiction of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania FBI field office, as there is no separate FBI field office in West Virginia. This unexpected link adds an interesting twist to the case. The involvement of various FBI locations in this case offers some intriguing details for close analysis. It's notable that the reference was made to the Treasure Valley FBI. One might expect the Boise Field Agency to be mentioned as it covers the Treasure Valley area, but interestingly, it is not the resident agency with jurisdiction over Latah County, the location in question. The Lewiston FBI Resident Agency, which is part of the Quad Cities Task Force operating in 4 counties in the area, has jurisdiction over Latah County. Lewiston is geographically closer, and there are 3 other resident offices located nearer to the area than the Treasure Valley office. If, for any reason, the Lewiston office was conflicted out from investigating, it would be unusual for the farthest resident office to be involved, rather than one that is logistically closer and has immediate jurisdiction in the area, unless it was already involved in the case. However, the crucial point to note here is the dual coverage of the Treasure Valley area by the FBI and DEA partnerships. The reference to the Treasure Valley, rather than Boise, likely indicates a cooperative effort by the task force, possibly investigating organized crime activity relevant to the area or victims of the Moscow murders, rather than an investigation by the FBI alone. In summary, the FBI offices in Salt Lake City, Boise, and Treasure Valley are working together in a collaborative effort on this case. Notably, this collaboration includes offices that traditionally do not have jurisdiction over Latah County, such as the office in Lewiston. The involvement of the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh office is suggested by a reference to a West Virginia office in a note from Latah County, indicating a connection to the Pennsylvania office which holds jurisdiction over West Virginia. This suggests a broader cooperative investigation potentially involving organized crime groups spanning these regions. It's also important to note that while Boise doesn't directly hold jurisdiction over Latah County, it does have connections to Salt Lake City. Moreover, many individuals involved in the case also have ties to the Boise area. The Moscow City Police stopped specifying which FBI agencies were involved in their cases. This change may have been aimed at preventing individuals from drawing conclusions about the undercover collaborative work between different field agencies, especially in the context of announced arrests and indictments.
He has resigned from his position with the Boise Police Department. It's effective next month on October 14th, and the resignation comes at the request of Boise Mayor Lauren McLean. It also comes just 24 hours after KTVB's investigative reporter Alexandra Duggan her report about Chief Lee and the complaints within the department. Lee will be on leave for the rest of his tenure. McLean has appointed retired officer Ron Weiniger as acting chief. He's expected to start on Tuesday, September 27th.
Pittsburgh has a troubled past.
Ryan Lee resigned from his last job after a number of violent allegations. Channel 11's Jillian Hartman is live outside Pittsburgh Police Headquarters.
Spoke with the executive director of the city's Citizen Police Review Board, who says Ryan Lee's checkered past raises a lot of questions.
I have some serious concerns about the background of this individual that is being rumored to be the next chief of police.
Sources tell Channel 11 that the former Boise, Idaho police chief Ryan Lee may become the new Pittsburgh police chief. Lee spent years with the Portland, Oregon department before becoming the chief in Boise. However, while he was chief, Lee allegedly broke a sergeant's neck during a tactical demonstration. Channel 11 obtained this letter from prosecutors to state police and Boise police last year, saying it was not an easy decision, but they had decided not to charge Lee. The letter also says Boise officers who were there told prosecutors Lee bragged about the number of hands-on use of force incidents he experienced in Portland and was even involved in a violent incident with a co-worker in Portland. Here in Pittsburgh, Beth Pittenger wants to know, was the incident taken into account before he was selected, and who was part of the recommendation to the mayor?
We understand there were 3 committees established to review the final 3 candidates that were recommended by the contractor, but we do not know how they vetted these candidates. We don't know who the candidates were. That was a very secretive process.
I spoke today to Alex Duggan. She's an investigative reporter at the NBC affiliate in Boise who covered Lee's time as chief. She told me there have also been multiple complaints of low morale in the Boise Police Department. Duggan told me Boise's mayor did ask Lee to resign after the complaints about him were made public.
The Pittsburgh Bureau of Police right now is in need of some secure stability, some clear direction, an established approach to the practice of law enforcement in the city of Pittsburgh. Yes, the morale is poor.
We reached out to Mayor Ed Gainey's office asking if Lee has been selected and if his background was taken into consideration. Gainey's office said the mayor will be making his announcement for the next chief of police within the next 2 weeks.
Not something that you really expect for a national story to come back to our area.
In Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, where he spent the bulk of his 20s.
DeSales is kind of its own sort of campus outside of Bethlehem in a more rural area.
5,000 total students.
It's a small school. It's not like it's a Penn State or a Pitt or a Temple. It's a very small school in a cornfield. So if you go there, you know most of the people within your study and pretty much everyone that goes to the school. And he was.
What's WSU?
Yeah, I go to the university basically. That is SWAT team and everything.
So I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where? Oh.
We're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're slightly punchy because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
We're driving. Well, almost a day.
Okay. And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
there was a mass shooting and everything.
Where?
This was essentially what ended up happening.
Interesting.
Well, it's horrifying because he's supposed to be university, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh.
I actually do work there.
Oh. University there?
I actually do work there.
Oh.
I actually do work there.
Oh.
Bryan Kohberger.
We reached out to Kohberger's entire criminal justice graduating class for this story, but his classmates either didn't reply or denied our request for an interview. The DeSales University, quote, sent a general communication that suggested everything go through the university as to be respectful of the ongoing situation. Vice President of Marketing and Communications told us via phone the school did not discourage students to speak with the media, but that she was available to assist in media requests on a case-by-case basis.
You'd never expect someone to be allegedly part of a quadruple homicide, ever.
Just across the hall from Kohberger's Pullman, Washington apartment lives Christian Martinez. He says Kohberger's dad approached him early on.
The dad was like wanting to introduce me to Bryan, and he said something, I don't remember the exact like word he used to describe him, but it was something that was like he has a hard time making friends, or he's kind of shy, or something like that.
A normal dude, average Joe type person, you would never, like, you don't know what's under people's skin.
You look up in the rafters, they had police with binoculars, they had undercovers, they had a ton of police, the metal detectors I mentioned.
Thinking of dealing drugs like fentanyl or methamphetamine in Idaho should think twice, because along with the DEA and our law enforcement partners, we will spare no effort to hold you accountable and keep Idahoans safe.